Hello and welcome to my channel Mystical Art. Today I'm doing a psychic art channeled mediumship reading of Jim Morrison because I felt his energy around me recently. And when I do psychic art readings, I go into a meditative state and through my third eye I see a part of a face at a time. As I'm going, might concentrate on the eyes first. I'll see the eyes through my third eye. I see the nose, the mouth, and as I'm drawing, I'll sometimes see white lines on the page when I'm being guided to draw. And sometimes I'll feel spirit guiding me by the hand. I feel them moving my hand and directing me where to draw. And when I'm doing psychic art readings, it may not look exactly like the spirit that's come through. It may not look exactly like Jim, but this is because I'm not drawing from a photograph. I'm channeling the energy. And it requires a lot of energy from spirit to come through to do this because they are on a different dimension to us. They've got to lower their vibration as I raise my vibration to meet the energy, and it does require a lot of energy for them to move objects as well, like moving my hand. So when I'm doing psychic art readings, it's an impression of a face that I see from my third eye. It's not a photographic copy. And they'll often show me colours in the aura, and they may show me an idealised vision of themselves as well. And this is how their soul wants to come through. So as I connect with Jim, he showed me that he was very spiritual, and in his lifetime as Jim, he was meant to live a more spiritual life than he was. And he's talking about his birth chart as well, and he's saying that there were some spiritual aspects within his birth chart. So if you know astrology, you may be able to pick up on these spiritual aspects. And he's talking to me about his self-expression, and he's saying that growing up it was difficult for him to express himself, and I feel like this is why writing was so important to him. Music, poetry was very important as his way to express himself, because he did feel like he didn't fit in growing up, and he found it difficult to relate to other people and to express how he felt with other people around him. And he's saying that he had some soulmate relationships in this life. He had people that he incarnated with during his life as Jim, that he shared many past lives with, and he had important lessons to learn with in this life. He's firstly talking about his mother or motherly figure. She influenced lots of his decisions in his life and the way he acted. I feel like him and his mother were very different in a lot of ways, and he wishes he could have been closer to her. And I am picking up a sense, longing to be closer to feel a closer connection to his mother growing up. And he's saying Pamela was a strong soulmate or twin flame. And he's saying their relationship was very loving but also destructive in some ways as well. He's saying that she was his muse and she gave him a lot of inspiration, and she helped to balance him as well. He's saying that she was the one that brought him down to earth when he needed to focus. He's saying that people around him didn't really view him as a person, but more as an object. And he's saying that everyone wanted a piece of me, everyone wanted money, fame, they wanted to be associated with me. And he's saying not many people really understood me and appreciated me for who I was. And he's saying how important truth was to him. He's saying that he wasn't afraid to speak his truth, even though this sometimes alienated him from other people. He had to speak his truth and do what he felt was right, as he became more famous, it was difficult for him to express his views. He felt that he was censored all the time. He just showed me people around me all the time, tell me what I can and can't do, managing my life, trapping me. He felt very claustrophobic and he couldn't be who he wanted to be. He's telling me that he wasn't ready to die when he did die. He's saying that he had a lot left to do, but in a way he's saying that death did bring him freedom, because he was so restricted that he couldn't do what he set out to do anyway. Even though he felt so much sadness about leaving, he's talking about a release as he passed away. And he showed me a lot of orange energy around him in his aura, and orange does represent creativity. And he's also shown me a phoenix around him as well. He did feel a connection with the phoenix. His soul did feel a longing to transform, to free himself of the restrictions on earth and to rise above it. I feel like he has lived many lives where he has been either famous or well-known public figure, someone that has made brilliant achievements, but also he wasn't able to fulfill the purposes that he set out to achieve. I feel like he was recognised for his talent, but he wanted to create more of a spiritual aspect to what he did. He wanted to help people more than he did, and he never quite got there, and it's like his soul is going back again and repeating this pattern to try and correct it and do what he originally set out to do. I feel like he has been self-destructive in many of his past lives, and he has been tempted by behaviours, patterns that he knows are not good for him and his soul's progression. And he's saying that there's certain temptations that have been holding him back through many past lives, and he has made mistakes and he has hurt people, and he's wanting to go back and rewrite what he did wrong. And he's saying he knows that he can live a better life and achieve what he set out to do, because what his soul wants to do is help to heal people through creative work and on a big level. He is talking about music. I feel like he has been a writer and been a musician in many of his lives. I feel in his life as Jim, his soul wanted to create music that healed people, and while his lyrics and his music did help a lot of people during his life, I feel like there's something more that he wanted to do with it, that his soul wanted to do with it, and he wasn't able to do because of temptations that got in the way. He's saying that he wouldn't have reached his peak until he was in his 40s. I feel like he would have steered from the music that he was doing, and he would have gone on to a different path, because his soul was always about reinventing. This is why he's showing me the phoenix again. He's saying that reinventing himself was important, and he needed to go through pain in that life in order to connect with people and to heal them. He did channel a lot of this into his music, and he went through all the difficulties and the pain that he went through because he was going to use that to help people further down the line. The fame tempted him. He's saying that it wasn't meant to be this way. The fame drew me in, and he sort of lost track of where he was meant to be. His soul drifted off his life path. He was always intuitive, but as he got older, he stopped listening to it and he started listening instead to temptations. And he's drawn in my attention to his throat chakra, because communication was an important part of his life. He was a perfectionist. He's saying that he often had to go back over things, rewriting, analysing things in order to make it perfect. And he has shown me again his spiritual path, and he's saying that he wasn't aware of doing this, but he did channel through a lot of his inspiration from spirit. And he has shown me an older woman who was very important to him, and she was with him a lot in the spirit world. And he felt her presence while he was alive. He felt her around him. He was open to trying new things, trying different techniques of being creative. But he's saying that he was also a risk taker, and sometimes he would do silly things. He's talking about how the power of healing through music, and how he connected with music and it healed him. And this was something that he really wanted to do, was heal people through music. And he's saying that when he was listening to music or making music, he would really get into the zone, and he would hear the music and see it as rays of colour, and he felt like the music was reaching his soul. He had a lot of people around him. He didn't have many close friends, and he did feel very lonely towards the end of his life. He's saying that he may have appeared confident, but he was very sensitive. He found it difficult to look back. He was always looking forward, looking for change. He didn't like to dwell on the past. I feel like the last year or two, particularly of his life, he had set in his mind that he wanted to make a change. He's saying that he wasn't ready to pass away. He did have certain goals in mind for when he turned 30. He did hope to go on a different path by then. Education, learning was always important to him. He did want to go back and study. He's particularly talking about science and the universe as well. He wanted to understand more about that, and I feel like he wanted to incorporate that into his writing, into his poetry. He said that he had so many interests that his mind was always going off on different tangents all the time, and he couldn't focus on one thing. And when he talks to me about his death, he's shown me that his soul was out of his body. I feel like he wasn't grounded into his body, and it feels like his soul is trying to jump back into his body, and he felt this panicked feeling that he couldn't get back in. And it feels like he was experimenting with something in order to harness more creative energy. It feels like he was trying to get an out-of-body experience in order to find more creativity and experience. He felt like in some way he could benefit his work from doing this. He's saying that he did become obsessed with his work and becoming more creative, and he convinced himself this was a good idea, and he was a risk taker, so he believed that he would be okay by doing this, and he had it all planned out. He showed me he was talking to Pamela about this, and they formed a plan. It is difficult to interpret what I'm seeing, because spirits show me images and I interpret the images, but I'm seeing him out of his body. So it may have been a substance that he took that brought him out of his body in order for him to channel more creativity. But I feel like Pamela was working with him on this, and she was supposed to be looking after him and helping him with this, but it didn't go to plan. And he's saying that as soon as he got out of his body, he felt a lot of regret, a lot of sadness. He was angry at himself because he had it all and he was risking it always for something more, and he did feel angry at himself for going off his life path. But this lifetime did teach him a lot. Even though it was a very short life, he says that he learned some very hard lessons in that life, but it has helped him on a soul level to understand what he needs to do better. And he has shown me a lot of sadness and regret from Pamela as well, because this was an accident and she blamed herself, and he's saying that she was very strong, but it was difficult for her to take this, and she drifted from her path. She made some bad choices, some choices that she regretted, since it was so difficult for her to get over this. And he's saying that after he did pass, he did send a lot of healing to Pamela. And he's saying that when he was in spirit, he did keep sending Pamela healing, and he did try to guide her back on her path. but he knew that on a soul level she had chosen not to stay here anymore. She on a soul level she wanted to be with him, and she couldn't focus on her purposes. And Jim, he wants to leave a message for his fans and for the people who supported him or connected with his music, who've been inspired or healed with his music. And he's saying, don't idolise me, but idolise my music. I was a flawed man, but I'm always trying to improve and to get better. And he's saying that his music was channeled, a lot of it. There's so much pain on earth at the moment, and people are hurting, and there is a lot of fighting going on, and people are drifting apart from each other. And he's saying that it is very important to connect with our hearts. When we connect with our inner child, we will find our path. We'll find where we need to go, because we all get caught up with ego, with arguing, with deciding who is right and wrong. And he's saying that this all just takes us away from our path. He's saying that we do need to spend some time to find ourselves, to love our inner child, because that child needs nurturing and loving like any other child, and we need to nurture and love our inner child in order to be happier people. Because he's saying this is something that he really wished that he'd done when he was on earth. He spent a lot of time running away from his inner child. He's talking about some pain from his childhood, some trauma. I'm not sure what happened to him growing up, but he's saying there was some pain, trauma in his childhood, and he ran away from it ever since. And he denied that inner child of love. He was always looking for love and recognition from other people, from his fans, from the people around him. But he said all he needed to do was to connect with his inner child and to love himself, and he could never do that, and that's why he drifted away from his purpose and why he did make some bad choices. And he has done a lot of healing in the spirit world, and he wants to help us. His energy wants to help us by helping us to connect with our heart. And he's saying that he wants us to take our own meaning from his work. He's saying that it's never, an artist's work is never about them. It's about our own individual take, our own interpretation. And so he wants us to do this when we listen to our music. He's saying, don't worry about trying to look up to find my meaning. I tried not to elaborate too much on that, because I wanted you to find your own meaning. I wanted you to connect with it and to heal from it in your way, because the music is for you and not for me. And I did some psychic writing earlier, some automatic writing I channeled from Jim. He helped to guide my hand as I was writing it. He wrote a poem. I was expecting him to write a few sentences, but he kept saying, keep going, I want to fill the whole page, and he wanted me to write this poem for him, so I'll read it out. I won't define its meaning because it's important for him that you take your own meaning from it. Courage through intensity, like falling leaves swept up in the wind, we are lost souls searching for answers to a quest with no name. Its purpose lost in our subconscious, we enter life in a haze detached from our purpose, and following a hue of light, tempting us and chasing us through our dreams and desires. Freedom only comes with a catch. Live in hope or live in purpose. Make choices from your soul, not your mind, because your mind is a prison that drags you into fear and pulls you from love. Stand in solace, or don't stand at all. You are building your own prison through facts you choose to ignore while swimming in a sea of bliss. Only fools dream big. The souls of tomorrow march away from the unknown and fly the flag of freedom through the choices that they make in the liberty of love. And this is your poem to interpret and to find your own meaning. And as my voice is starting to go, I think that's a sign for me to end the reading, but hopefully Jim will come through again. And thank you for watching my video, and I will be back again with more videos.